you've spent any time online recently, you have definitely seen it. This huge, fierce debate about seed oils. One side is screaming that they're this hidden poison causing all our modern diseases, while the other side says, hey, they're a totally fine, affordable fat to cook with. It's super confusing, right? So in this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise, look at the actual science, and give you a clear picture of what's really going on.
So let's just get right to the heart of it. Are the cooking oils sitting in your pantry right now, the ones used in pretty much every restaurant, secretly messing with your health? We are about to unpack all of it.
Okay, before we can even start weighing the pros and cons, we really need to get on the same page about what we're even talking about. Because these oils are in so many of the foods we eat, just knowing the basics is step one to making a smart choice.
At their most basic, seed oils are, well, exactly what they sound like. They're oils that have been pulled from plant seeds. Think corn, soybean, canola, and sunflower. The real debate isn't about the plants they come from, it's about the intense industrial process they go through and what that does to their chemical makeup.
And when I say they're everywhere, I mean they are everywhere. In fact, just 3 types, canola, soybean, and sunflower, make up a staggering 87% of all the vegetable oil produced on the entire planet. They've become the absolute backbone of our modern food system.
So how in the world do you get oil from a tiny little seed? Turns out it's a pretty heavy-duty industrial process. It all starts with extraction, which uses either massive pressure or chemical solvents. From there, the oil that comes out gets refined, bleached, and then deodorized. And all of this often involves really high heat to get that clear, neutral product you see on the shelf.
This whole journey creates what's known in the industry as an RBD oil. That stands for refined, bleached, and deodorized. What you get in the end is a product with no real taste, a light color, and a super long shelf life. But, as we're about to find out, that very processing is at the dead center of this whole health debate.
All right, so now that we know how these oils are made, let's dig into the case against them. Why are so many people sounding the alarm about their health effects? The worries usually boil down to 3 main things.
First up is something called the omega imbalance. See, our bodies need both omega-6 and omega-3 fats to work right. The problem is, our modern diet is completely flooded with omega-6s, and a huge reason for that is seed oils. This throws that crucial ratio way out of whack, tilting the scales heavily towards the pro-inflammatory omega-6s.
And look, this isn't just some abstract nutritional theory. Research is suggesting that this serious imbalance can actually fuel chronic, low-level inflammation all through your body, and that's a state that's being linked more and more to a higher risk of major health problems like heart disease and type 2 diabetes.
The second major concern here is oxidation. These super-processed oils can be chemically unstable, especially when you hit them with high heat, like in a deep fryer at a restaurant. This heat actually causes the fats to break down and form nasty stuff like the infamous trans fats and cell-damaging free radicals.
And just how dramatic can that heat effect be? Get this, one study found that when you repeatedly heat canola oil, which happens all the time in food service, you can increase its trans fat content by a jaw-dropping 233%.
And finally, there's the nutritional price you pay for that RBD journey we talked about. That intense processing, it doesn't just make the oil pure. It can also strip away a lot of the good stuff that was there naturally. For instance, the refining process can remove almost 1/3 of the oil's original vitamin E, which is a really powerful antioxidant.
But hold on, that's only one side of the coin. It's really important to understand why these oils got so popular in the first place. So let's flip it around and look at the case for seed oils, because it's definitely not all bad news.
I mean, from a purely practical, day-to-day standpoint, the benefits are pretty obvious. Seed oils are incredibly cheap, and you can find them in any grocery store. They usually have a high smoke point, which makes them a go-to choice for high-heat cooking. And yes, even after all that refining, they can still give us some essential nutrients.
Let's actually zoom in on that nutrient point for a second. Some seed oils can be surprisingly loaded with vitamin E. A single tablespoon of sunflower oil, for example, can give you an amazing 37% of your daily value. Even canola oil chips in with a respectable 16%.
And that's a big deal because vitamin E is a crucial antioxidant. It acts like a bodyguard for our cells, protecting them from damage and helping our immune system. And since most people in the US don't get enough of it, these oils can actually be a pretty significant source.
Now, this brings us to a really important point. Not all seed oils are made the same way. To get the most nutritional bang for your buck, the key is to look for unrefined, cold-pressed versions. This process is way gentler, and it helps keep more of the good stuff, like vitamin E, in the final oil.
Okay, we've talked about the risks,
We've talked about the benefits, so where does all of this leave us? What are you actually supposed to do now? Let's break it all down into some simple, practical advice.
The advice here is pretty clear. This is not about totally eliminating them, it's about using them smartly. The absolute key is moderation. And you definitely want to avoid reusing oil that's been heated over and over. When you can, reach for those unrefined cold-pressed options. And you know what? For single-use high-heat cooking or baking, they can still be a very practical tool in the kitchen.
This table really helps put it all into perspective. You can see the trade-offs right here. A standard seed oil is neutral and great for high heat. Olive oil is packed with amazing nutrients, but it's really best for lower temperatures. And then you've got avocado oil, which kind of hits a sweet spot with its high smoke point and mild flavor. It's really about picking the right tool for the right job.
Ultimately, it all comes down to this. The goal here isn't to demonize a whole category of food. It's about understanding the details, trying to get a better balance of fats in your diet overall, and just making informed choices that work for you, your health, and your kitchen.
So, the final question is all for you. Now that you have a much clearer picture of the real risks and the real benefits, you are officially in the driver's seat. What role are these oils going to play in your kitchen from now on?